What's up, everyone? Welcome in to my continued NASCAR coverage. This week, we're talking about the 2018 Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I am the big man on campus for SBR Forum at SBRpicks.com. Last week, Daytona, what a race it was. A lot of interesting things went on. Austin Dillon captures the win. We had a shot late with Kurt Busch. He led with 2 laps to go, was involved in a wreck. That's how close we were to cashing that big ticket on Kurt Busch. But we pick up the pieces and move on. You're not going to win every week in NASCAR. It's tough, but let's put our money in the right way this week and hopefully find a winner. As always, support the causes here at SBR. There's so many great things that go on here. And make sure you join the fantasy league going on with SBR. You can join a fantasy league, play with other people. You can pick drivers. There's so many great things as well. You know, different great videos on every single sport, all sorts of good things going on at SBR Forum and SBRpicks.com. Let's get into the preview. This is an interesting preview because the weather could be a problem in Atlanta on Sunday. This race goes at about 2 o'clock Eastern. From what I've seen, there could be an issue with rain, so obviously have to keep abreast of that. Could see some sort of delay in this race or something like that. But a little bit about Atlanta, if you're new, it's a 1.54-mile track. It's an intermediate track. And you look at last week's winner, Austin Dillon. The last time a racer won 2 races in a row, the last driver to do that was Matt Kenseth. He did it back in 2009, so 9 years ago. It's not very not very normal. So Austin Dillon's chances of winning this would not only be legendary, but they're probably not going to happen. As far as the drivers that I like, I have 3 yet again. All these lines are currently at Bet Online if you wish to opine on them. These are drivers that I'm personally wagering on. We're getting good prices on all of them. We'll start with first driver. I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. Had a pretty good showing last week in Daytona. I believe he finished 12th. He had, he'd raced pretty well for the most part and had a good day and was able to get through it without, wrecking, which is something at Daytona that if it happens, you got to feel pretty happy. Martin Truex is one of my picks at plus 450. Not great, not a great price here, but in my opinion, I think he's the favorite in this match or in this race. You look at it in his career, he's won of the last 11 1.5-mile races in NASCAR. He's won 7 of them. And that's pretty unbelievable last season. He was on fire at intermediate tracks. And a guy in this race that I have to look at, his average finish in all 11 races, he finished at 2.5. So he was in the top 3 average in intermediate 1.5-mile races. He's long overdue, to kind of put his stake on this season. He didn't race well last year or last week. He finished 12th, but he should have been better. He wants to kind of continue to feed off of his Cup Series win last year. Martin Truex has to be a favorite for me, and at plus 450, and him being the favorite, I'll take a shot with him. I think he's the guy that will win this race. Let's look at 2 others, and I think tremendous value on the 2 others. Not Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson at 14-1. I'm going to take a shot with him here as well. He hasn't raced well. I mean, a tough year last year. He's in and out of the lineup each week. He hasn't raced well. I mean, he's only you look at his last 10 races. I mean, he hasn't finished well in really any of them. But he has won 3 times here in Atlanta. He's finished top 10, 12. Last 7 events, he's not finished in the top 10. So for Jimmy Johnson in general, he's really struggled over his last couple races. He's actually won twice here at Atlanta, and 2 of those were in the last 3 years. So he has had a good history in Atlanta. It's a track that he does real well at, and it's a track that I think, as far as maybe you getting him going a little bit, it's a great place to start. You talk about long overdue. He's long overdue for a good performance. A guy that wrecked last week at Daytona. It's been a tough year for the quote-unquote LeBron James of NASCAR. He has struggled a little bit. Needs to get a winner under his belt. I think he'll be up towards the top in this one. I think for once we finally see a good performance in a Jimmy Johnson. And at 14-1, I have to look towards him here. The final driver that I'm going to take, this is obviously tremendously heavy value. But when you get a driver of this caliber at this price at this track, I don't see how you don't take a shot with it. I'm going to go Kurt Busch again, 50-1. Um, in his career, he's won 3 times at Atlanta. He's finished top 10 12 times. And you look at the last 4 races in Atlanta, he's finished top 4 twice. So he's actually had really good success here, not only in his career, but lately. Finished, if not for a wreck last week, he may have won that race. We might have cashed a big ticket. I think we're going to be right involved again here. He's a good success. He still is a guy that has it. And you look at his brother, for instance. His brother has, one of the better numbers here at this track, but he's only 5-1. Give me Kurt at 50-1. I definitely think he can have a go here at this one. I mean, I thought he surprised last week. Don't think it's surprising that he surprises again here. And at 50-1 with his success lately, I got to take Kurt Busch at 50-1. So 2 things here. One of which, take a look. Weather could be an issue. This one might be delayed. We might see a night race. Who knows? For me, the 3 drivers I'm going to go with, I'm kind of going with 3 older drivers, 3 guys that have been around the block, but 3 guys we know can still race. They're still high-level drivers, and have all had a ton of success here at this track. That's what NASCAR's all about, going with what makes sense and just kind of sticking to the script. You're not going to win every week. If you go into NASCAR thinking, hey, I'm winning this week, that's a great way to think about it, but it's just not normally feasible. You bet NASCAR if you're up. That's how I look at NASCAR. If you're, let's say this week you're down 800, you got to pay your bookie Monday morning, or you're low in your balance on your account online, or you need to reload, looking at NASCAR and saying, ooh, I'm going to win this week. It's not for the faint of heart. Let's say that. And my advice is, if you're down, you should not be betting NASCAR. NASCAR is for people that are flush. They're having good years. Considerably people like me that have had a good year in other sports, and you want to put your money to work. Let's say I put $200 down on each driver here. I mean, if I cash on Kurt Busch, I'm getting fucking paid. If I lose, I put my money in the right spot. Hey, let's say I cash at Truex. I make, let's say what, $850. I walk away with $650 after expenses. I watched a race. I had an edge. I had fun. So yeah, NASCAR is really valuable if you know where to look, and going with drivers that make sense makes sense. So for me, Truex plus 450. I'll go Jimmy Johnson 14-1. I think he may get the you get something good going here, and then I'm going to go back to Kurt Busch 50-1. Can he cash in a big price? We'll see. Let's go with those 3 drivers this week at Atlanta. Everyone have a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown. We'll see you next week here on my weekly preview of NASCAR.